Hey guys, what is going on? It is C.A.P Gaming here. Today I'm going to be bringing you my ranking for the multiplayers in the Call of Duty franchise. Now this is going to range from World at War all the way to the newest Modern Warfare installment. So another thing I want to talk about is I'm going to be talking about these games from release. I'm not going to be talking about anything that's been added, because if we were talking about that, I feel like Modern Warfare would win. The newest Modern Warfare would win because it has so many new things coming to it every day, or not every day but every month, whereas some of these other games only had new maps, whereas this one would have new guns and the battle pass and everything like that. So we're going to talk about it without any battle passes included. We are not counting Warzone or Blackout in this, so just strictly the multiplayer. And I'm also going to be trying to do this without any nostalgia, but if there is some that comes out, I am sorry. But also remember guys, this is my opinion, so you are entitled to yours, I am entitled to mine. But without further ado, let's get right into the number 13 spot. So guys, before I talk about my number 13 spot, what I want to do is I actually want to apologize for the glitchy videos. I don't know if all of them are going to be glitchy, but so far from what the editing I've done, they've all been a little glitchy, so I'm apologizing for that. But anyways guys, for my number 13 spot, I actually have Infinite Warfare. Now, Infinite Warfare for me was the only Call of Duty that I never really played. I couldn't get into the multiplayer, and while I enjoyed the campaign and the zombies mode of it, the multiplayer just felt like it was a copy of Black Ops 3, only less fun in my opinion. The specialists were decent, but still not as fun, and I just didn't enjoy Infinite Warfare's multiplayer nearly as much as I enjoyed some of the earlier games and some of the games that came after it. So it is my least favorite one. Now this is all opinion. If you guys like it, good for you, but for me, Infinite Warfare was the worst because the guns didn't even feel fun to use, and it just felt like a weird mix of all the other Call of Duty games. But anyways guys, let's move on to the number 12 spot. For my number 12 spot, I actually have Black Ops 4. So now I feel like in the last couple years, other than this newest Modern Warfare, the Call of Duty multiplayer has been very lackluster and lower tier than what they have been doing. The one thing I didn't like about Black Ops 4 was really the healing aspect to it. I didn't enjoy the whole healing thing, and the specialists, it seriously just felt like a carbon copy of Black Ops 3, only it was boots on the ground instead of the jetpack type thing. But it seriously felt like it was just Black Ops 3 with a little bit better textures and a few different kill streaks. And then it also had older weapons because it was all set up as a simulation, but still it was not the game for me. Like Blackout I thought was really fun, and that's about it. The zombies was okay, but for multiplayer, it just wasn't the game for me. It was cool, I guess, at the beginning. I only played a couple games. I enjoyed playing gun game on it, but it's just everything else just seems so unfulfilling. But anyways guys, don't want to spend too much time on these bottom two, so let's move on to the next one. So coming in at my number 11 spot, I actually have World War II. Now I know this might be one that makes some people frustrated, but hear me out before you go ahead and get mad at me and yell at me in the comments. This game, at release, only had, I believe, 9 maps total. And honestly, in my opinion, it was set up really weird compared to any other Call of Duty we had ever seen before. And the whole reason that I have it this low is just because there weren't very many maps. If I was judging it as, of today, so in 2020, I think I would rank this at probably number 7, because I do enjoy the prop hunt game mode and all those, but we're talking about launch, and those weren't in the game at launch, so that's why I decided to put it this low. And I also thought the gameplay was a little wonky, and it was a little too quick for your time to kill. So yeah, that's why I've got it at number 11. Let's move on to the number 10 spot. So for my number 10 spot, I actually have Call of Duty Ghost. Now Call of Duty Ghost, in my opinion, is actually a pretty good multiplayer. It was fun for me, but the thing that it suffers from is something that I talked about with one of my subscribers in one of my streams recently, is that Call of Duty Ghost was ahead of its time. If the maps weren't as big in Call of Duty Ghost, I think the game would be a little more fun, because I enjoy all the weapons from Call of Duty Ghost. The snipers were a little iffy, but every other weapon I pretty much enjoy. But we talked about how the maps were just too big for a 6v6. Now if they would have waited till Modern Warfare Remastered, or they would have released this game now, I think it would actually be a lot better than what it was. It would be a little more it would have been a little more fresh now, because they would have done 10v10 in this game, whereas the maps were built for like a 10v10 or 20v20 type thing. But I think that's the main reason I put Ghost so low, is just because the maps were so big and it was such a slow-paced game due to that reason. There were some maps that were small, but it was, in the most part, it was a little too big for my liking. So yes, let's move on to the number 9 spot. So for my next game, I actually have Modern Warfare 1. Now I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, but Modern Warfare 1, while it was a really good multiplayer, because at this point was the point where I started having trouble deciding which would go where, and since this is my opinion, Modern Warfare 1 for me was always the multiplayer that was a little bit lackluster, meaning that it just didn't seem as good because there was such a small amount of weapons, and it and World at War were exactly the same, but Modern Warfare 1 just didn't have all of the things, like the new things that World at War had, that made it feel more realistic. But also with Modern Warfare 1, the reason I have it this low is because it is the first game in the Modern Warfare franchise, so obviously they're gonna have this one kind of be a trial run, see how it goes, see what all works, and then they're going to make it better in Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3, which they did. So yeah, that's why it's so low. It's not because it's a bad multiplayer, it's just because it was the first and they were using it as kind of a building block to get to the other multiplayers. Now for my next spot, I actually have Black Ops 3. Now the reason I've got Black Ops 3 above Modern Warfare 1 is because Black Ops 3 has a lot more variety to it, and it's got like the specialist things, which was good. A lot of people don't like the specialist things, but for me it was actually kind of a cool introduction. I wish they would have only had it in not Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 3, but they kept it going through, I believe, Infinite Warfare into Black Ops 4, and it just doesn't work as well in those games. But this game, I feel like it works fine, and the reason I like Black Ops 3, it was because it was a time after Ghost where the games just felt super slow and slow-paced, but it was also like an in-between of Advanced Warfare and stuff like that. Now, Black Ops 3, for me, the reason it falls off is because it's just the map. A lot of the maps are just copies of older maps from Black Ops 2, or Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, which kind of takes away from the newness of it, I guess. They don't have any, like, they have a lot of new maps, don't get me wrong, but it's just, they're not all new, which I really enjoy having new maps. Another reason that Black Ops 3 ranks this spot is because while the weapons are new and cool, they're really futuristic, and that fits the story. But I just think the whole like swimming thing, and there's certain aspects to this game, like the wall running, the double jumps or the boost jumps, whatever it is, that kind of make this game feel wonky but also feel good. I don't know. Black Ops 3 is a weird one for me because I like it some days, but I don't like it other days. It just depends on like who I'm playing with, who's playing, things like that. But anyways, guys, let's get on to the next spot. So guys, coming in at our number 7 spot, I actually have Advanced Warfare. Now for me, Advanced Warfare was a game that didn't work in the Call of Duty franchise at the time because of how it was so new and had a lot more futuristics, like the double jump, the things like that. But the thing that I really like about Advanced Warfare, and this is a kind of an unpopular opinion, was that the exosuits actually sped up the gameplay. Because like I said, Call of Duty Ghosts, or going from like Call of Duty Ghosts games like that, where it was such a slow, like monotonous gameplay, to going to something like this, where it was really fast-paced, was a nice change in the series, and it was the first time that we'd gone like super futuristic. Like Black Ops 2 was futuristic, they just didn't have all of the double jumps, things like that. And I think Advanced Warfare did a lot of things right, I think it did a lot of things wrong, but for the multiplayer aspect of things, I think it did okay. It's not the perfect Call of Duty by any means, but it gets the job done, and it helps further the franchise for games to come. Like without Advanced Warfare, I don't think we would have gotten anything like Black Ops 3, but it also got Call of Duty to go into this weird funk where they were just doing all futuristic stuff, which is fine. They were some fun games, certain parts of them are fun. The multiplayers were never fun, but Advanced Warfare has a pretty good multiplayer for not feeling like a Call of Duty game when you first play it. But anyways, guys, let's get on to the number 6 spot. So guys, coming in at our number 6 spot, we actually have the new remastered version of Modern Warfare. Now, the reason I've got it ranked this low, well, high and low, the reason I've got it ranked this high is because it does play really, really smooth, and it is probably one of my favorite multiplayers, for me at least. But it also has this thing to where it really frustrates me because I feel like a lot of the maps just didn't change at the beginning. You have certain maps and that would be it. And also at launch there was a lot of problems with the 20v20 and all of the searching and going on like that. But that's with every Call of Duty game. But the reason I've got this one rated a little bit lower is because it just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel as fun or nostalgic for me as a lot of the other ones. While it is a great multiplayer and I really enjoy playing it, it's just got so many things that the other games did better. Like a lot of the game modes, I feel like the other games did better, and a lot of the perks in this game just don't fit it. Like the chain kill, things like that. I don't enjoy those perks, and I think they're a little bit of a cheap way out of the perk thing, or the perk system. Not perk system, sorry, the kill streaks. And I don't know, it's weird. They're all really weird in the way that they want to make this game feel like the other Call of Duties, and they did do a pretty decent job at making it feel like it was another Call of Duty, but I digress. Anyways, guys, it's a number 6 spot because it was kind of this weird middle area in the Call of Duty franchise for me. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to the number 5 spot. So now we are entering the top 5. So for my number 5 pick, I actually have Modern Warfare 3. Now, Modern Warfare 3 was the first ever Call of Duty that I owned and played, so it was a little hard for me not to put this at number 1, but I wanted to get rid of the nostalgia part of everything. But anyways, the reason I've got this one in like the 5 spot, so starting our top tier games, probably I'd say the S tier games, is because it did have a lot of variety to it. There was a lot of guns. I really enjoyed the ranking up system. It pretty much copied the Modern Warfare 2, which did almost everything right in its multiplayer. And it also had a wide variety of maps. Well, some of them were copies, but typically they were all new. It had a lot of new like aesthetics to it, and it made everyone feel like they were actually playing a Call of Duty. And that's one of the biggest things, is feeling like you're actually playing Call of Duty. And this was probably one of the last games that made you feel like you're playing a true Call of Duty game. But another reason that I have it lower than the rest of them is because I really didn't like the kill streak system in this, where it was either the kill streak system or the support system. It was like I want to say it was the lethal support system, or the lethal kill streaks, the support kill streaks, and then you also had specialist. While I think specialist is a great thing to have, I don't like the support, because then anyone in the game could get, like, if they get 17 kills, they get an escort chopper, I believe, or an escort helo, I believe, which, I mean, is good for beginners, but if you give that to someone who's a really good player, that might be a little overpowered for them. But yeah, that's one of my main reasons I didn't like this one. I loved all the game modes they brought into this game, and I loved the factions, I loved the maps, but I just think the whole kill streak system really killed this game for me. See what I did there? Let's get on to the number 4 spot. Oh, Black Ops 1, where to begin? Now, Black Ops 1 I never actually played in its heyday, but it was still a big game when I did, when I ended up buying it. And Black Ops 1 is probably one of my favorite Call of Duties of all time throughout every single piece of it. The zombies, campaign, multiplayer. I really enjoy Black Ops 1 specifically because of the new way they tried to do the custom classes, where you had to make money to buy stuff. And one of the reasons I really like this multiplayer is because of the wager matches with like the sticks and stones, the one in the chamber. I believe gun game was one of them, and I don't remember if there were any others. But the wager matches were a really cool idea. It was kind of a competitive game mode with like gambling and things like that when you weren't actually gambling real money. But I mean, all the weapons were really good. All the attachments are kind of okay. one thing I don't like about this game is how little amount of kill streaks it has. Now, it is an earlier game in the franchise, but then you got to remember, like, Modern Warfare 2 came out around the same time, and Modern Warfare 3 came out a couple years after. But they had, like, well, Modern Warfare 3 had, what, like 70 kill streaks, and Modern Warfare 2 had, like, 15 to 20, and I think this game only had 13 kill streaks, and some of them were awful, like I think it was a missile launcher one where it was like you were watching through the missile's eyes. But yeah, the reason I have this game at number 4 is because some of the perks I didn't really like. It was fun, but there were also a lot of problems with the game modes, and I felt like at the beginning when it first came out, from what I've read, Nuketown was a huge deal at the time, so everyone was playing Nuketown, and a lot of the other maps didn't get any love. But yeah, so that's why I have it at number 4. Let's move on to the number 3 spot. So guys, coming in at the number 3 spot, we actually have Black Ops 2. Now for me, Black Ops 2 is way better than Black Ops 1, but I mean, thinking about it without my nostalgia for Black Ops 2 being like my favorite multiplayer from any Call of Duty, I realized it had a lot of flaws. It had a lot of different problems with the whole score streak system, or just switching to a score streak system. But the one thing that I think it did right, and I mean, this is totally my opinion, but the create a custom class was my favorite part about this game. Only getting 10 points meant that people couldn't run all these really stupid attachments on their guns. Kind of like what Modern Warfare Remastered is. It's just a lot of people running around with like 50 different attachments on their gun. I mean, it's only 5, but it feels like they've got way more. But it didn't overdo it. It made it to where you had to have some skill to play the game still. But I also really enjoyed this game because the score streaks cycle through. It's not just you get to your top kill streak and you've got to die before you can get them back like every other game. This one you cycle through. So like if I got my UAV, my hunter killer, and my counter UAV in one life, it will cycle through and I can do it again. Another thing that kind of bugged me about this game was when it first released, it felt like it was a really slow-paced game, and the spawns were really messed up for quite a while, actually. I think Black Ops 2 had like the longest spawns messed up out of every Call of Duty I have ever played. But that's kind of the reason I put it to the number 3 spot. I didn't put it at 2 or 1, but for me, this would probably be the number 2 spot on a normal list. But I'm going through and trying to also take into consideration what you guys would think. So anyways, let's move on to the number 2 spot. So guys, for our number 2 spot, we actually have World at War. Now, a lot of you might not agree with me on this, but I think World at War is a phenomenal multiplayer. It is very gory, and it makes you actually understand like what war was like. And I honestly have really no complaints about World at War, since we're talking about it when it released, not when it was like right now. Because right now, you get into a lobby, you get into a hacked lobby, it's always a hacked lobby. There's never anyone in there that doesn't have a hack, it feels like. But when it first came out, it was a really fun game. But I mean, the reason I don't put this one at number 1 is because the amount of kill streaks. You've got the UAV, the artillery strike, and the dogs. But the thing is, I don't really want to judge this on the kill streaks. I just really like this multiplayer because of how gory it is, and you can drive a tank, which you can in Modern Warfare, but you have to get it, or you've got to get a kill streak for it. And this one, you can just get in and drive it. So I know this one's probably gonna be like against people's, this one will probably be lower on people's list, but for me, it was such a fun multiplayer to play when I first got the game, and it was just so gory, and it made it actually feel like a rated M game, unlike some of these other Call of Duties, which just don't feel like they're rated M other than for the cussing, things like that. But anyways, guys, I think you all know what the number 1 is. I did this for you guys. Even though I was not around when it was in its heyday, the number 1 spot is Modern Warfare 2. Now, I know a lot of you know my opinion on Modern Warfare 2, and I don't enjoy it as much as other people, but I do have to admit Modern Warfare 2 probably had the most solid multiplayer of all time for the Call of Duty franchise, at least as of right now. And it could very well change in the next couple years with new Call of Duties coming out. But Modern Warfare 2 had such a good variety of weapons, and it built off of Modern Warfare 1, which is already an amazing multiplayer. And the thing that I really enjoy about this multiplayer is the kill streaks. The kill streaks are so perfectly set up, and they all have their they all have usefulness. Whereas in some of the other Call of Duties, you've got like, well, okay, from Call of Duty Ghosts, you had the SATCOM, which was awful. But in this one, you have like UAV, counter UAV, you've got the precision airstrike, you have the, I want to say it was the Harrier strike, which everyone used. And then you have like the AC-130, the chopper gunner. Every single one of these kill streaks was phenomenal. And the gameplay was just amazing. All the weapons, it looks so clean. Like even now, going back and playing it in 2020, it still looks like a phenomenal game. And I'm kind of sad that we didn't get a remaster of the multiplayer, which I'm hoping we still get, since we did get the campaign remastered. I'm not a huge fan of the campaign, but the multiplayer was amazing, and I would still go back and play it today if there weren't so many hacked lobbies. It was the first ever Modern Warfare or Call of Duty in general that I got Master Prestige on. I believe it is the only, because I'm really close on Black Ops 2, but, you know, whatever. So yeah, I know this was a little quick, guys, and I didn't talk too much about all of the games. If you guys would like to see me talk about all the games and what they did right and what they did wrong, I will gladly do that. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you are new to the channel and you have made it this far, please subscribe to the channel. It would help me out a lot, and you guys can give me some ideas for Call of Duty stuff, any top 5s you'd want to see. And also, if you have not already, please like the video. It really helps out the channel. And if you don't subscribe, in the words of the Smith Plays, I will burn your house down. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video.